Throughout history, there are countless stories of people that beat the odds and survived extreme conditions or near impossible odds. There's the story of the woman that fell out of an aeroplane at 10,000 feet and survived. There's the story about this guy that got swallowed by a whale and survived. Hi folks, I'm Johnny and welcome to The Oddest. In this video, we're going to take a wee look at one such case. A case that would kickstart modern day neuroscience as it pertains to behaviour. A gentleman who was dubbed one of the great medical curiosities of all time. Let's take a wee look at Phineas Gage and ask the question, why is science still obsessed with this man? This photo was posted many years ago on a popular internet forum. The original poster wanted to know about the photo. One such commenter stated very matter-of-factly that the man featured in the photo was a famous whaler. This man was so good at his job that he was photographed with his famous harpoon that he used to skewer a legendary whale. He was wrong. Way wrong. Born in New Hampshire in 1823, Phineas Gage was one of 5 kids. Although not much is known about his early life, it's said that he was a strapping lad. He was tall and considered by many to be fairly handsome. At the age of 25, his doctor was noted as saying that he had a strong muscular physique and an iron will as well as an iron frame. This might explain why later on he would become a medical marvel and a living legend. This Iron Man started working on the railroads, a job that would keep him in peak physical condition, that's for sure. He soon became what's known as a blasting foreman. So basically, when laying down the railway tracks, you were often met by various natural obstructions, namely massive rocks. So how did they get past this rocky blockage? Well, you didn't go past them per se, you blasted your way through them. In order to do this, you would use explosives. This in itself was no easy task. It involved boring a hole into the rock, filling the hole with an explosive charge, normally in the form of TNT or dynamite, and then you'd pack the powder in using a metal rod called a tamping iron. You can see where this is going, right? In the afternoon of Wednesday the 13th of September in 1848, near Cavendish, Vermont, Phineas Gage was hard at work when he came across a particularly large rock. No, not that one. This one. As the story goes, he was distracted for a mere moment and turned to speak to a group of workers standing behind him when his tamping iron struck the mouth of the narrow hole on the rock, which caused a spark, instantly igniting the explosive which he had already set. The resulting explosion propelled the tamping iron with such velocity and at such an angle that it entered Gage's head. The tamping iron travelled at lightning speed, like a long iron bullet, up under Gage's jaw, behind his left eye, through the left side of his brain and out the top of his skull. To give you an idea of the force in which it was travelling, this thing weighed the same as 3 crowbars, and after exiting the top of Gage's skull, it landed 80 feet away. To his co-workers' amazement, not only was Phineas still alive when they got to him, but he was already trying to sit up, and within 30 minutes, he was sitting on a chair and able to talk. A physician soon attended. His name was Edward H. Williams. As the doctor arrived, he was met with one of the greatest understatements in medical history. That was Gage's opening statement to the doctor, saying, "Doctor, here is business enough for you." The doctor would later write that the top of his skull looked like an inverted funnel shape, as if some wedge-shaped body had travelled from below upward. Mr. Gage, during the time I was examining this wound, was relating the matter to which he was injured to the bystanders. I did not believe Mr. Gage's statement at that time and thought he was deceived. Mr. Gage persisted in saying that the bar went through his head. He then got up and vomited. The effort of vomiting pressed out about half a teacupful of the brain through the exit hole in the top of the skull, which fell upon the floor. Gage's wounds were cleaned, and the entry and exit wounds were left partially open to allow for drainage. Surely this would have an effect on his mental state. How can someone lose a large portion of their brain and not incur some sort of cerebral damage? Well, in the months after this accident, he was tended to and treated by Dr. John Harlow, His notes whilst monitoring Gage over the first few nights stated, "Mind clear, constant agitation of his legs, being alternately retracted and extended like the shafts of a fulling mill. He says he does not care to see his friends as he shall be back at work in a few days." Despite his extensive and, let's face it, horrific injuries, for a very short time he seemed to be unaffected mentally, but it would soon become apparent, as well as the physical damage to his body, the mental effects would start to manifest. The damage done to Gage had seriously affected his intellectual faculties. He started being overly rude to people. Despite being known for his mild manners and witty humour, he was moody and would utter the grossest profanity. Prior to his accident, he was considered to be a model foreman on the railroad. However, taking everything into account, the railway didn't want him back. Reports state that even although he was totally blind in his left eye, he still continued to work. He worked for a time at a stable in New Hampshire before travelling to Chile to work there as a coach driver. At the age of 36, Gage would pass away due to a seizure brought on by his injuries. However, as we said at the start, Gage's accident was not in vain. The future of medical science would be changed forever, mainly in discovering how brain injury can cause changes to personality. Gage's friends said that not only was he no longer Gage, but he was a completely different person. He was once a man of mild and polite temperament. He became an ill-tempered, shiftless drunk. Later medical reports said how childish and animalistic he became, but that he was also whimsical. Besides all that, a massive discovery for doctors was that even though someone has a large portion of their brain gone, regular tasks and a fairly normal life can still be attained. I mean, fair enough, he became a bit more impulsive and swore a lot, but he knew how to drive a coach and not crash it every 2 seconds. Today, the case of Phineas Gage is still discussed at universities as it pertains to the frontal lobe of the brain and how it is significant in terms of behaviour and personality. There are many aspects of the accident which could be considered contributing factors to his miraculous survival. The fact that he was young and physically fit. The fact that the tamping iron was sharp and passed through his skull swiftly and cleanly. Also the fact that the injuries could be drained, which prevented any infection from setting in. One doctor was quoted as saying, "The portion of the brain traversed was, for several reasons, the best fitted of any part of the cerebral substance to sustain the injury." Translation: this just means if you're going to lose part of your brain, then make sure it's that part. To this day, Phineas Gage's skull, as well as the offending tamping rod, is on display at the Warren Anatomical Museum, which is on the Harvard Medical School campus. So there you go. Another video, another story. I can't wait to see you all again soon. Stay safe out there, please. And remember, keep smiling.